Jai Shankar to everyone. I'm sure all of you know about Nitin Gokarn Mam, and most of you were, or rather, all of you were there when he gave a talk in Ayodhya. So he needs no introduction. However, I would like to take a minute to say that in his illustrious 37 plus years of career as IPS and an IAS officer, one of the most important things he has spearheaded is the formation of the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, which we are going to see tomorrow and day after. I hand you over to Nitin Ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. We are present from Ayodhya to Kashi today. Ayodhya, I was asked to speak about Ayodhya and Sanatana Dharma. So, when we look at Sanatana Dharma, the very nerve center of Sanatana Dharma, or the very focal point of Sanatana Dharma in entire Bharatvarsh is where we are today, Kashi. So, welcome to Kashi. I have, out of my 37 years of service, worked in Kashi, and I consider it as a matter of great pride and opportunity that the government gave me from 2005 to almost 2018 in various capacities. And even after going to the government of UP in 2018, I continued my association in Kashi even as a principal secretary or as ACS, looking after its master plan or development of some of these roads. One of the roads that you came by, the Fulvaria road, is a newly constructed axis, the third axis to enter into Kashi. And I consider it as a matter of great pride that it got finally done. This was a project in the anvil for the last more than 25 years. And it was a very complex engineering project. Let's come to the subject at hand. Varanasi, the spiritual heart of Sanatana Dharma. We salute our Guru, who gives us all inspiration to do whatever we are doing in life and to try to give the best that we can do in this Janma to help our fellow citizens for progress of our society and for our country. That's the main guiding force and spirit that we have. So, my salutations to our Guru and our Guru Parampara. Bhavani Shankar. Interestingly, Bhavani Shankar, as we all know, our first Guru came from Kashi and brought the idol of Bhavani Shankar from Kashi. I'm not going to speak about where Bhavani Shankar is within Kashi, but I'll show you a small glimpse of what I have discovered of Bhavani Shankar in Kashi. Next. So, I'll try and tell you what my experience of Kashi is and try to bring about aspects of Kashi as I have seen it and experienced it. And there are very many people in the audience here who know me from Kashi for the last more than 20 years. Our association continues on a day-to-day basis with them. And despite being anywhere in the country or in the world, I always say, शरीर भटकते रहता है, आत्मा काशी में रहता है. That's why I'm, in my soul, I am a Kashivasi. So welcome to Kashi again to all of you. So this is, I'm trying to take you through Kashi, why the name and etymology of Kashi emanates. What do you mean by Kashi? How does it illuminate and what is it all about? How it is the eternal city, how old it is. It is the world's oldest living city on the planet with continuous recorded history of more than 5,000 years. Its contemporary cities globally have vanished. There's nothing there. They lie in ruins. But Kashi continues, flourishes, and you can experience in Kashi what people experienced 5,000 years ago and what people are experiencing in the 21st century, all at the same time. So it enables you to live in whichever century you want to. That on a mental plane and on a spiritual plane. That is the only place that I have found in Bharatvarsh you can actually transcend through time, and you will feel it as you move about in the gullies of Kashi. Kashi the luminous. Why is it luminous? Kashya, Kashya, Prakash, Prakash, Kashi. That's the etymology of Kashi. Why is it luminous? When you stand on the banks of the river Ganga you feel is Uttar Vahini. Tomorrow or day after we are going to Vindhyavasini. Vindhyavasini, it is still going eastwards. It hits almost Chunar fort, and then instead of entering into Bihar through Chunar, she turns northwards. Now the character of any river, if you find in India, it either flows southwards or eastwards or westwards. Rivers generally do not flow northwards. So Ganga is here Uttara Vahini. Not only is she Uttara Vahini, she flows in what is called as a Ardha Chandrakar formation. This is a complete curve when she moves up north and then enters into Bihar. It's almost like a sinusoidal, nice little curve. When she enters into Kashi, whatever is the volume of water she has, even at the time of the floods, this is Shiva's Kshetra. So she flows silently. You will never hear, whatever is the volume of water in the Ganga, you will never hear anything in the Kashi. It will be silent. She will just go silently. So this is how Kashi looks like. Kashi and Varanasi, what is the difference? Kashi is the entire place which is illuminated on her banks. Because when the sun rises from the east, not only do you find the luminosity of the sun directly coming onto you, but you find the luminosity of the sun reflecting from the river onto you. So it's a double reflection, double luminosity, double intensity that you experience when you are at the ghats in the morning. That is why it is Kashi. This you don't find anywhere else, unless you are right there on the river and you find the intensity come. And here you have to do nothing, you have to just walk on the ghats and you see the luminosity, how the sun rises and the volume of light that falls on your face. That is how it is Kashi. What is Varanasi? It is the Sangam of two rivers which come and meet the river Ganga. Varuna and Asi. Varanasi. The Kshetra between the two Sangams of the Varuna which meets on the northern side and Asi which meets on the southern side. The 98 ghats that form between Varuna and Asi, the Sangam, is Varanasi. So there is a difference when you say where you are, whether you are in Kashi or you are in Varanasi or you are in Banaras, you are in different mental zones, different areas. We talk of different places. So that is the beauty of just one word, the same place having different connotations. And if you look at just go to the previous slide, the Ganga comes with a volume of silt as well as water. She's flowing northwards, going very slowly first towards the west and then towards the east. So what happens in this flow hydrologically? The water never leaves the ghats. And the silting is always on the east. So as she is coming into Kashi, there is a separation of the water and the silt happening naturally. It is like cleansing that takes place of herself as she enters into Ganga. It's a natural process of cleaning that happens. That is why you find silt on the other side and water on this side. Next. She is the eternal city, always has been. There is, as you look at all the records in our ancient scriptures, Kashi has always been there. It has never been created by anybody, nor will it ever be destroyed, as per what Kashi Khand says. So this is a place where you are very, very fortunate to be in the Sannidhi of our Swamiji, that you are in a place which has never been created nor will be destroyed. All other places will have this. And it is the abode of Lord Shiva. The beauty of this is that this is the only Jyotirling. There are 12 Jyotirlings in India or Bharatvarsh. And out of the 12 Jyotirlings, this is the only Jyotirling on the banks of the river Ganga. The only one. And this is what is also called as the Moksha Kshetra. Gange Tava Darshanarth Mukti. Just the looking at by your eyes of Ganga gives moksha. But you have Lord Shiva along with Ganga. This is something which is adding on to one more layer of what your spirituality is all about. Next. Kashi is described as the supreme amongst all the cities. There are Saptapuris and then there is Kashi. There is Tirthraj, Prayagraj, and then there is Kashi. Out of all the Tirthas, all the Saptatirthis, Prayagraj is the Raja, but Kashi is different. So that is how in our literature we find Kashi being described. Amongst all cities, Kashi is the greatest. It is a city which is beyond birth, beyond destruction. Next. So even when the three worlds perish as per the Shiv Puran, Kashi will still remain. It will be eternal. It will never cease to exist. Next. Moksha Daini Ganga तट पर शिवजी विराजमान संपूर्ण परिवार सहित. He is not alone. Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. So here he is not alone. He is with his entire parivar. Entire parivar on the banks of the river Ganga. That is something which is different from other places. You will find other Shivalinga temples also, but there you will find him to be alone. Here he is with his entire parivar. Next. Manikarnika. Manikarnika. Mani, Karna, Karnika. The story is that this was initially not Lord Shiva's place, Kashi. And Lord Shiva along with Parvati wanted to come and reside here. And they tried very hard for several eons. And it was Lord Vishnu who made it possible for the Parivar to come and settle here. And when Lord Vishnu invited him to come and reside in Kashi, he was so happy. His entire sharir, as they said, had a kampan. And with that excitement, his ear from the mani from the ear fell. That is the story of Manikarnika. And Manikarnika is at a place which is called Chakra Pushkarni Tirtha. Chakra Pushkarni, where you take the water, the Tirtha. So the water at Manikarnika originally was from the discus of Lord Vishnu, done even before the advent of Ganga in Kashi. So there are more than 4 or 5 such tirthas within Kashi where people believe that the water there is distinct and separate from the water of Kashi. You will go tomorrow in the morning to Gyanavapi. I'll come to that. The Gyanavapi's water is also distinct from the water of the river Ganga. And Gyanavapi existed before the descent of Ganga into the earth and into Kashi. So that is how ancient this is. We've all heard of Sagara and how for his sons he does penance and invites the Ganga. So it predates that, even before the advent of the Ganga. So this is as one would call Manikarnika, a place where Vishnu Pada or Vishnu's feet are present today in Manikarnika. And south of that and north of that, there are two distinct entities. North of that is what is called as the Vishnu Kshetra. South of that is the Shiva Kshetra. So it is also a merging of two huge Shaiva and Vaishnava traditions. If you look at it from a sociological or political angle, it is a merging of the Shaiva Vaishnava traditions all at one place. And interestingly, in the Kartik Mass, or there's one specific day, normally Tulsi is not offered to Lord Shiva. But on one specific day, Tulsi is offered to Lord Shiva. Bilva is not offered to Lord Vishnu, but on a specific day here, Bilva is offered to Lord Vishnu, signifying what? Ultimately, it is Hari Hara. Both being Lord Vishnu and Shiva being basically the same in terms of the energy in the cosmos. So here it is always Satyug in Manikarnika, because the fire here since the time of Satyug has never died down. You have a continuous flow of bodies into the Mahasmashan. Tell me any other city which you have a Mahasmashan in the heart of the city. Right there in the center of the city. The most important sacred spot is your Mahasmashan. The only place that I know of is Kashi, where you have a Mahasmashan which is continuous and eternal. And it's the only survivor of the cosmic cycle. Lord Shiva is present there all the time. There is a Tarakeshwar temple also at Manikarnika. And for all the people who are to attain moksha in Kashi and whose last rites are performed, it is said that Lord Shiva says the Taraka mantra in the ears of the deceased so that the soul attains moksha. That is the importance of Manikarnika Ghat in Kashi. Next. This is the Vishnupad. Some of you may like to go and see that whenever you have the free time at Manikarnika. Next. It is recognized globally as the world's oldest living civilization, right from Ralph Finch, 16th century, to Ptolemy, to Mark Twain, to Yuan Sang, Vincent Smith. All the ancient writers, you look at whatever they've written on Kashi, they write it as the oldest living city and living civilization. Next. This is a quote that I like very much, that when 25 centuries ago, at least it was famous, and they look at it from a Western perspective. But if you look at from a Indian perspective, from a Bharatiya perspective, where did Lord Buddha choose to give his sermon? In entire of North India. He got enlightenment at Gaya. He could have given his sermon anywhere. But where did he choose to do so? He chose to do so at Sarnath. Why? Because Kashi, even during Lord Buddha's time, was a seat of learning. And if it has to be a seat of learning recognized across North India and South India, it has had to have at least 1,000 years of earlier history for it to have evolved and developed as a seat of learning. So, recorded history and archaeological history evidence dates it back to more than 5,000 years. I had occasion to witness one particular excavation here next to the temple, the main temple, Kashi Vishwanath temple. There is a school there in that boundary. Some of the people here would have also seen it. Gulshan aapne bhi dekha hoga. In that school, they went down almost 5 manzil gaye the niche. और 5 मंजिल में you could see layers upon layers of brick and civilization, how people have lived, how the Ganga has come reclaimed, again people have built it on top. So you are actually, where you are sitting and at this particular moment, you don't know what is below, how old this is, how many layers of civilization this has seen, how many eons of people you have seen in this particular place. And therefore, this is what is called as a place where nature reclaims, again people reclaim. Continuous civilization. Despite the floods in the Ganges annually, again people come and build. Again Again the bricks fall, again the houses are built, again the bricks fall. That is the layer upon layer of civilization that is present here. Next. It is the center of Sanatana Dharma. The oldest Veda, Rig Veda, mentions Kashi. Now there is nothing older than Rig Veda as far as we know amongst all the Chaturveda. The Rig Veda mentions Kashi as the city of light. So this as a place of city of light was known to the Rig Vedis. And mind you, if you look at the Rig Veda was actually written by people residing on the river Saraswati. Because if you study the references to the rivers, there are more than 50 references to the Saraswati river and its greatness in the Rig Veda, and hardly 1 or 2 references of river Ganga. Despite that, Kashi is mentioned as an important place by the Rig Vedis. So this also brings out the fact that even the Saraswati civilization, I don't call it an Indus Valley civilization. I can argue why I don't call it as an Indus Valley civilization. And we are all Saraswati Putra as we claim ourselves to be, all sadhakas and seekers. So the Saraswati civilization, as it were, recognized Kashi as the center of brilliance, of luminosity. Ramayana, of course, Mahabharata, of course. Mahabharata, you have an episode of Kashi Raj. You have the episode of Bhishma coming here, Ambe, Ambalike, that entire episode happening. That thing has happened here in the Kashi. Next. It is the spiritual capital. Here, what I have tried to do is, I have tried to cull out from various places. I have not taken one source, if you notice. I could have done one source and done 10 references. But what I have tried to give you is a flavor as to how many places Kashi is referred to. Take any Purana, any part of Ramayana, any part of Mahabharata, you will find Kashi there. It's not possible that a work of repute or of note has no reference to Kashi. That is the level of importance that Kashi has in all our scriptures. Skanda Puran mentions it as spiritual capital. Brahmanda Puran mentions it as a seat of learning. This is the place where Tarka Shastra used to happen. You had to defeat your opponent in Tarka Shastra. The greatest Advaita philosopher, Adi Shankaracharya, has his Tarka here with Mandan Mishra. That is how evolved Kashi was. You could come here, you could argue, you could put across your point. If you won over everyone. So that is how open and non-dogmatic Sanatana Dharma was. Again say the word non-dogmatic. It's a very important word that I am saying. Next. It has a cultural legacy. It's a pilgrimage for salvation. Of course, death here in Kashi. Kashi Maranam. People come here as they say to die. So that they say that this is the Moksha Puri, Moksha Daini, the ultimate place to die. Next. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the Supreme Brahman resides in Varanasi. Skanda Puran mentions it as the most ancient city of the universe. Matsya Puran. Shiv Puran has an entire Kashi Mahatmya, just as you had an Ayodhya Mahatmya. You have an entire Kashi Mahatmya here. Padma Puran, dying in Kashi grants liberation. Next. Now I'll come here into what is Kashi's sacred geography. Am I going too heavy? Please let me know. Okay, so this is what I call as Ayodhya. You saw in my presentation, I had given you the city of Ayodhya, how it looks like, how it has been formed. The sacred geography of Ayodhya. Remember? Vastu Purush, temple form of a human being, Urdhva Mukha, lying on the floor with legs folded. That is the ultimate urban planning from Valmiki's times. Ayodhya, how it is there even today. Kashi is a mandala. Entire thing is a mandal here. What does it mean by mandal? The entire space is encompassed. And every location here has got an interrelationship with every other location. So, there is, when we do our Havan and we say Adi Devata, Pratyati Devata, so everybody has their friends and friends. So, Kashi has every Devat. When I'm saying every Devat, Literally every devat has a sthan. And that sthan is also fixed. And it is based on certain sacred cosmogeny. It is not something which is just there. It is by design. It is almost as if some great power has actually designed this entire cosmos and brought it down onto ground and made it into a sacred mandala. No other city I know of has got this kind of a mandala. Now this, if you look at it as the outer one being the Panchakosa, 5 sheaths, 5 elements, Pancha. So all the 5 elements are represented here within this. Then you have the heart, the blood, the face, the legs, the head. The what should I say? The Sukshma and the Sthula. The 5 Sukshma, the 5 Sthula elements. All as a part of this mandala. And look at where the Kendra Bindu is. Every mandala has a center. Axis Mundi, somebody remembers? Stella Cramerish, temple, Axis Mundi, right? From where the energy emanates of that temple. So therefore you should have the darshan of the shikhar. Like that, the mandal also has a defined center. And in the case of Kashi, where is this defined center? Jnanavapi. This is the defined center. So what happens? At Jnanavapi, every yatra that starts, whether it is the Antargrahi yatra, the Panchkosi yatra, the Chaurasi Kosi yatra, whichever yatra starts, it starts from the Jnanavapi, goes up to Manikarnika, and then you start your yatra. Prarambh wahi se. And for those of you who can tomorrow, just try to taste the water of Jnanavapi. You will find it one of the most sweetest natural waters in the heart of an urban congregation like this, in the heart of a very polluted city. That particular Jnanavapi still continues to have very pure water, very sweet water. Because its source is different, it's cut off, it's by itself. And what is Jnanavapi? Jnana, knowledge, Vapi, tank. In what they call as the architectural shaili of India, a Vapi should normally have what is called 18 steps to go down. And there are steps to go down. One of the first projects that we did on the Jnanavapi was actually to cover some of those steps in order for pilgrims to move properly. But there are passageways below and there are steps to actually go down into the Jnanavapi. And here is one person who, along with whom I have had Gulshan. Khade ho jaye jara. So along with Gulshan here, I have had the honor of going inside the Jnanavapi well several times and having darshan of what I call as the blue fish. The blue fish in blue water. Nila. So it's a wonder how it survives, how it exists, and how that water is. Next. 33 crore Devi Devta. 33 crore. 33 crore was our population at the time of independence also. 32 crore lagbhag. 33 crore Devi Devtaon ka sthan yahan Kashi mein hai. 330 million. Every one of them has got a sthan. If you actually start and doing research, you will find every place, every Devata you name has got a place within this sacred geography. Next. This is what I call as the sacred mandala of Kashi. Familiar with Kashi now? Familiar with Varanasi now? The other side is called Maghar area. There is a person called as Vedavyas. All of us have heard. So Vedavyas wanted to establish a different Kashi. So he went on to the other side of Kashi. He still have a Vedavyaseshwar there, but he was not successful in doing so. That is what history tells us. He wanted to establish a new Kashi better than what Kashi is, but he couldn't do so. So, what is this Kashi? Where does it lie? And why does it not get destroyed? There's a debate between Prayagraj and Kashi. Prayagraj तीर्थों के राज, तीर्थराज प्रयाग. काशी is different. काशी शिव के त्रिशूल के ऊपर है. It's in the trident of Lord Shiva. It's right on top of the trident of Lord Shiva. And all of us, I explained to you in Ayodhya, Sankalpa. How Sankalp is something unique when you are taking it in terms of time, space, geography and person. No two Sankalps can be the same, ever. Because the time would have changed, or the place would have changed, or the person would have changed. So when you take Sankalp in Kashi, what do you say? Mahasmashane Gauri Mukhe Trikantaka Virajite Avimukteshwara Kshetre. All of this has got a deep meaning. When you say, when I said Vaivasvat Mantare, it has got a specific meaning. Why is it Vaivasvat Mantare? Avimukta Kshetra, Avimukta Varanasi Kshetre. Avimukta, never forsaken. Never forsaken by whom? Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is here all the time, present every day. As we are speaking, he is there. He has been always there, he will always be there. He has never forsaken. If you look at it, several places, it goes, Avimuktam namaya Varanasyam. That's how Lord Shiva describes in all our literature. So, Avimukta Kshetre Varanasi. Mahasmashane. Where is the Mahasmashan? Manikarnika. The biggest Smashan. Mahasmashane. Gauri Mukhe. What is Gauri Mukhe? Anyone? Gauri Mukhe. Sati. Vishalaksha Kshetra. That is how it is related. For people from the south, it is Kanchi Kamakshi, Madurai Meenakshi, Kashi Vishalakshi. The three major deities. And if you have the time, please do visit Vishalakshi ji. I'll come to that as well later on. Trikantaka Virajite. Trikantaka is the Trishul of Lord Shiva. And if you look at it geographically also, there are three slight hillocks geographically within Kashi. The highest being where Vishweshwara is. You have Omkareshwar in the north, Vishweshwar in the middle, and Kedareshwar in the south. For खाटी बनारसी, जैसे यहाँ कई लोग हैं, खाटी बनारसी लोग हैं, खाटी बनारसियों के लिए केदार खंड केदारेश्वर is the ultimate. For the Kedareshwar people do not even go north of Kedarkhand. For them, Kedareshwar is ultimate, and for them, Harishchandra Ghat is the ultimate. So that is how there is a distinction. And what is the importance of Kedareshwar? When medieval period temples were destroyed, the only temple of the medieval period in existence today in Kashi is the Kedareshwar temple. The armies came to destroy it. There is one, if you go to Kedareshwar, in front of the Kedareshwar Shivling, there is a Nandi, black granite Nandi. And you find an impression of a sword cut on her back. So the armies had come, and as people say, somebody from that army hit onto the Nandi to start destroying it. And as soon as the sword touched the Nandi, the sudden onset of bees and wasps which came in and attacked that army. And that army just ran away. And after that, nobody came to touch that. So that still remains. Kedar Khanda, Kedareshwar. So here it is a Rudravas. Lord Shiva with Parvati, both residing together. And north, as I said, Vishnu Kashi, Shiva Kashi. And total length of 7 kilometers only. That is why Varanasi is so congested. People ask why, because nobody wants to leave Varanasi. Everybody wants to stay within the precincts of Varanasi. If you go out, they say, "Ye Banaras nahi hai, it is not Varanasi." So that is why this congestion comes in. Next. This is the Panchakosa Mandala. This is an actual depiction of the Panchakosa Yatra. 5 sheets, 108 temples, 12 mahine, 9 nakshatra. Computed that way. 5 कोस 5 दिन. Every 5 days, every day you have to have a halt. When you do Panchkosi Yatra, you have to complete it on foot 5 days in what is called as Purushottam Mas, Adhik Mas. So this is the entire Panchkos. All temples of Kashi are within this Panchkos. To such an extent that if you are walking on the Panchkos, on the road of the Panchkos, as you are walking clockwise, your right side is Kashi. If you take a step outside that, you are not in Kashi. If you are having a temple that side, it's of no use. So that is the beauty of the Panchkos. So all Ganas of Lord Shiva reside here. The entire Shivatayan is residing here. The 12 Jyotirlings that you see across the Bharatvarsh, every place has got a denotified place here. So you don't need to do a 12 Jyotirling Yatra. You can do your 12 Jyotirling Yatra within Kashi. Lord Ram, after the battle with Ravan, comes and establishes a Shivlinga here, the place called Rameshwaram, which is also what is called as a Padav. The place to stay is what is called as Padav. So, यहाँ 5 Padav हैं. Next. This is another depiction of the Panchkos. And as I say, Lord Brahma, 45 Vishnu Peeths, 64 Yogini, 12 Aditya, 72 Devi Peeth, Navadurga, Navachandi, Navashakti, Navagauri, Saptamatrika, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Annapurna, Shitala, Vishalakshi, Ashtabhairav, including Kala Bhairav, Dandapani. All of them have got a designated spot and a designated place. They don't change. Next. Now let's come to the Chappan Vinayaks. What is the importance of this? Next. See, the entire Kshetra, Kashi Kshetra has got 56 Vinayakas. 7 concentric circles, 8 directions. 7 8 are 56. Chappan Vinayak. So, Ashta Disha, Sapt circles, concentric, with the circles getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The outermost circle I have mentioned who the Vinayakas are. Next. This is how it looks like. The Kashi Mandal of the 7 concentric circles in the 8 directions. What is interesting is that you see there is a dotted line. It comes closer, 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 and where does it go? Kendra Bindu, Vishweshwara. Gyanvapi ke bagal mein Vishweshwara. And which is the Vinayak at the center of all the Chappan Vinayaks? Dhundiraj Ganesh. So tomorrow when you are having darshan, the earlier tradition has always been that one goes, has a dip in the Ganga. After the dip in the Ganga comes walking, has darshan at Dhundiraj Ganesh. Dhundiraj Ganesh is the main entrance to go to Kashi Vishwanath Ji. Then you go to Annapurna Ji. And then by that time Kala Bhairav Ji has opened. You go and do Kala Bhairav. Then you go to Sankat Mochan, Durga. Your early morning is spent. By the time you have a bath and do this, it's already 10 o'clock. So that is the खाटी बनारसियों का यही है सवेरे का. और उसके बाद पूरी कचौरी जलेबी. Next. So there are Pancha Tirthas. Just as you have Pancha Kos, there are 5 main Tirthas. Although there are several ghats, 98 ghats, but 5 of them are prominent. What is a Tirtha? As I mentioned, it is a crossing between where you are in a physical form to where you want to be in your spiritual form. So that it's a ford, it's a bridge which you can cross when you are at a Tirtha. It is a place for purification, for penance, for tap, jap, these things. Next. The Pancha Tirthas from the north, Adikeshav, Panchaganga, Bindu Madhav, then Manikarnika, Dashashwamedh, and then Lolark or Assi Ghat. These are the 5 main tirthas where people normally do snana. If you want to do snan in the Ganga and then do all your pujas, visits to the temple, then you do it either at Dashashwamedh or Manikarnika. My personal favorite, of course, is Panchaganga. And I'll tell you why. Because there are 5 rivers there. Panchaganga, 5 rivers, confluence. You have the Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati. Then you have 2 other rivers which come and meet there from within Kashi. Both are underground, Kirana and Dhutapapa. Kirana is the warmer element and Dhutapapa is the colder element. So if you are ever having a snan at Panchaganga, sometimes you feel your foot is warm, sometimes you feel that your foot has become cold. It's the streams that come and hit you. And the time to have a dip in Panchaganga is, koi batayega? Kartik Purnima. I normally used to do that. Kartik Purnima, early morning, before sunrise, have a dip in the Panchaganga Ghat, come up, take a darshan of Bindu Madhav. Then you have Gokarn, Partagali Mutt, Kashi Mutt, all the Vaishnava Mutts, Telang Swami Mutt, Kala Bhairav, and then back. That is the routine of the morning, and the evening is Dev Deepavali, where you light all the lamps on the ghats. So that is Kartik Purnima and Panchaganga Ghat. Next, Assi Ghat. Well, this ghat was not there in 2005 when I had joined. ये घाट था नहीं, कपूर साहब आपको याद होगा. ये this ghat was built by tourism department. The famous ghat now. Modi ji has gone and done the cleaning at Assi Ghat. Everybody knows. But it used to be a kacha ghat, and interestingly, Pejawar Swami ji's mutt was at Assi Ghat, and even to build a road was very difficult to approach their property. But we had to build both the road as well as this ghat through this project. Next. So it is the confluence of the Ganga and the Assi, which destroys. Assi is supposed to be the destroyer of all your bad karmas that you have done in the past. It has the power to destroy all senses or indriyas. But this is all on paper. Today Assi Ghat is actually an Assi Nala. So please don't go near there. One of the projects that I had taken was to clean up the Varuna. So we had done the Varuna river cleaning and Varuna corridor project. During my time we had done interceptor sewers on both sides, and from the river Ganga we had taken a cut so that water flows again into the Varuna whenever Varuna doesn't have water, so that the water is clean. You could not actually stand in the Varuna, it was full of sewage. You could only smell sewage. But it became clean during my time. The Varuna we cleaned up. But Assi is a very big major problem because of lot of construction that has happened and diversion, and today it is just 100% sewage. Very difficult. Next. Dashashwamedh Ghat, Ganga Aarti. All of us would have seen. This is the very famous place. Dasha Ashwamedha. 10 Ashwamedha Yagyas have been performed. This is where Brahma's main temple also is located. The only Brahma temple within Kashi. Next. So the dip here is supposed to be giving you a benefit of 10 Ashwamedha sacrifices that people have done. It is also known as the Brahma Dwar or doorstep. Old name is Rudra Sarovar. Some people call it as Prayag Raj Ghat because there is a temple there on which it is written as Prayag Raj Ghat. See, the present ghat was built by Peshwa Balaji Bajirao the First, 1748. Now I come back, I'll give you a little snippet of the importance of Marathas and their contribution to Kashi. One can actually write a book on it. 1669 onwards till close to 1720 was a period when there were hardly any temples left in Kashi. The only temple that was there was Kedareshwar temple, and probably the only mutt that was there was Jangambadi mutt and a few other mutts, Kashi mutt, Gokarn Partagali mutt. All other main major shrines, temples had all been destroyed. It is the advent of the Maratha power into the north that changed the whole dynamics. For the Marathas, we had gone to what was called as Tristali Yatra some time back, and we had done that. Prayag, Kashi, Gaya. Tristali was the unfinished agenda of the Maratha Empire. They could not actually rule it directly, but they did rule it, and they ruled it indirectly. It was part of the Maratha influence zone. And it is the advent of Radhabai, the mother of Balaji Bajirao Peshwa, who had come on a pilgrimage to Kashi, 1725, which changes the entire dynamic of Kashi. She comes here and she sees that there is a chap called Mir Rustam Ali, who has been given the rights by the Nawab of Awadh to collect tax, what is today very common, toll tax on the road. Those days, toll tax on the river Ganga, because all cargo used to go by the river. So there is a Mir Ghat built by Mir Rustam Ali. That ghat still has a small structure where people used to sit and collect that toll tax. So she saw that and she said, if Mir Rustam Ali can build a ghat on the Ganga to collect toll tax, why is it that we Hindus cannot build ghats on the river Ganga, the most sacred of our cities? And so the building of ghats actually started by the Marathas, like Balaji Bajirao Peshwa. You look at Bhosle, Sindhya, or even the smaller Maratha Sardars, or even as late as 1780, Ahilyabai Holkar Ghat. So the period from 1725 till 1780 is important because you have the Battle of Buxar. Buxar is very close by. And after the Battle of Buxar, Varanasi comes under the influence of the British. So the udbhav of temple building activity, which happens between this period, actually stops a lot after 1780-85. And all temples that you find today in Kashi are influenced by the Marathas and a lot of North Indian Rajas, including that of Nepal, including that of Darbhanga, and a lot of other Rajas who took and built their own forts and ghats. So 1748 is when Balaji Bajirao Peshwa, he comes also very close by. There's a fort called Chunar. He comes with his force of about 1 lakh people to Chunar, and that's how the entire building of the ghats that you see today are all influence of Marathis or Marathas. Next, even today, tomorrow you'll go to Raja Ghat, that is also a Peshwa's Ghat, Amrutrao Peshwa. Next, Manikarnika Ghat. Next, Mahasmashane, Chakra Pushkarni, I mentioned this. Next, Panchaganga. The Panchaganga I mentioned is the Sangam of the 5 rivers with Bindu Madhav. And for most of us who are familiar with Kashi Mutt, the name Kashi Mutt comes from the first mutt that was established here in Kashi. That is how it is called Kashi Mutt. 500-year-old mutt. And next to that is the Gokarn Partagali Mutt. Next, the Adi Keshava. Lord Vishnu is said to have come into Kashi first at the Adi Keshav, near the Adi Keshav temple. Very close to the Adi Keshav temple is the confluence of the Varuna and the Ganga. So that is supposed to be the oldest part of Kashi if you look at it, because that is where, when Lord Buddha came from Gaya and entered into UP or what is Kashi Mandala, he crossed the Ganga, entered into almost close to Adi Keshav, and then crossed a bridge onto the Varuna and then proceeded to Sarnath. This is all recorded history, how the Buddha has come and how he has gone, sat in Sarnath and preached and taken 5 disciples. So this is a very important temple for Vaishnavas especially. Next. This is the confluence. Originally Kashi was therefore Lord Vishnu's city, and then it became Lord Shiva's city. Next. All of us have heard Vishwanatha Suprabhatam. We've heard Suprabhatam of Vishnu, but there is Kashi Vishwanatha Suprabhatam as well, sung by M.S. Subbalakshmi, which when I was here almost सवेरे बजता था 4-5 बजे रोज़ मंगला आरती के बाद मंगला आफ्टर मंगला आरती M.S. Subbalakshmi's Kashi Vishwanath Suprabhatam we used to play in the temple, Kashi Vishwanath temple, and it starts by this: Vishveshvam Madhavam Dhundim Dandapanim Cha Bhairavam Vande Kashim Bruhan Ganga Bhavani Manikarnikam. Starts with this. It's an invocation to all the major gods of Kashi, and then you start invoking him to rise and give his benefits to all of us, to all us living beings. Next. So this is how Gyanvapi's deities are. I told you mandal. So within the overall mandal of Kashi, there is a mandal of Gyanvapi as well. So in that Gyanvapi, every deity has got a specific location and specific place. You can't just say that I'm going to build a temple here. No, that's not done. I'd build a temple to whom? That's not done. Because that particular deity has a specific sthan somewhere else. So you can only build a temple to that deity at that particular sthan. That's the importance of what a mandal is. Because the energies therefore are balanced. When you are looking at a mandal, the energies in that place get balanced by the interplay of energies from each of those and from the others onto them. If you are going to disturb that energy by bringing into something or removing something, you are going to either create a void in terms of your energy flows, or you are going to make it into a warp. So that is the difficulty of understanding what a mandal is and also working inside a mandal. How do you do what you are supposed to do in terms of what is called as vikas? Okay, next. Kashi Vishwanath ji, you will have darshan tomorrow morning. Very, very auspicious that all of us will be having darshan along with Swamiji for Mangala Arati, something which you should be looking at as a major milestone in your life, because it's not every day that you do Mangalarti along with Swamiji. Next. We all know it was built by Ahilyabai Holkar, 1780. Just a small recap of the temple of Vishwanath. There were several temples that were in existence. The oldest structure of Vishwanath ji was somewhere near Rajghat area, is what is recorded in some places. Existence not known, exact location not known. A location of the Kashi Vishwanath temple, the first known wave of temple destruction started in 1198. And 1198 onwards, after that round of temple destruction in Kashi, Kashi was desolate. There hardly any temples. 1580 कितने साल भाई? 400 साल. ठीक? 400 साल के बाद एक मंदिर बना. Funded by any guesses? Raja Todarmal. During the reign of Akbar. Who oversaw that project? Narayan Bhatt. Narayan Bhatt, the famous Mahamohopadhyay, has written more than 28 books in Sanskrit, including the Tristali Setu, from where we say Tristali, where he has given the Mahatmya of Prayag, Varanasi and Gaya, brought all writings on Prayag, Varanasi and Gaya till 1580 from all the Puranas and Vedas in one concise dictionary form. He oversaw that. It lasted for how many years? That structure? 90 years. 1669 April, structure gets destroyed. 1669 to 1780, no structure in existence. 1780, the structure comes. What you see now, built by Ahilyabai Holkar, gold donated by Maharaja Ranjit Singh of Lahore. Imagine, he calls himself a Sikh, but he donates gold to the shikhar of this temple. That gold is still there on the shikhar. It still exists on the shikhar. And there are beautiful carvings on the gold, on the shikhar itself. कितने हैं भाई, याद है आप? हाँ, 22 मन सोना और कितने उसमें आकृतियाँ हैं. उसमें गणेश जी हैं, विष्णु जी हैं, हाँ, सभी देवी देवता आकृति on that. You can't actually see it from afar. You actually go there next to it and then you can see the akritis. From below you can't make out. So that is the beauty of the shikhar. It glows in the sun, especially in the afternoon sunshine. You can actually see the shine of the shikhar. And the mere darshan of Lord Vishwanath, Shikhar and Gyanvapi Tirth is ultimate bliss for moksha. That is what is believed. Next, Annapurna Devi. Who is she? Kashi Puradhishwari. How beautiful. Kashi Puradhishwari. And in this land of Kashi, therefore, she is the one who provides. Even Lord Shiva takes alms or dakshina from Ma Annapurna. Bhikshan dehi kripavalambana kari Mata Annapurneshwari. So every living being, every person here who stays in Kashi can go around without having the tension कि भाई उसको रात का दिन का खाना नहीं मिलेगा, संभव नहीं है. कहीं ना कहीं उसको खाना ज़रूर मिलेगा. किसी मठ में, किसी आश्रम में, किसी मंदिर में उसको खाना ज़रूर मिलेगा. To such an extent that even during the worst period of COVID, when there was a complete lockdown, उस टाइम क्या हुआ था? खाना तब भी मिला था और खाना प्रसाद रूप में भी मिला था. So that is the beauty of Kashi. Never does anybody have to go hungry thinking where he is going to get his next meal from, because of her benevolence. Kashi Puradhishwari. This particular murti that you find is to be shown only during Deepavali. Only during Deepavali this murti is shown. This vigraha is not seen at any other time. And Bhandara takes place, and of course a lot of people come to seek her benevolence, because that is when the harvest has also come. The harvest and the coins from that Bhandara are kept in one's custody till the next harvest. So that is to ensure that your house is always full of anna or harvest. Next. Temple again built by Peshwaji, 1725. And the idol Abhinav Tirth Swami ji, Shankaracharya ji. मुझे लगता है अभिनव तीर्थ जी के बाद अभी वाले शंकराचार्य आए थे, इससे पहले बीच में कोई नहीं आया ना. विद्याधर जी के बाद लेकिन बीच में कोई शंकराचार्य आए नहीं. सो आफ्टर 1977 द प्रेजेंट शिष्य स्वामी शंकराचार्य श्रृंगेरी, फ्यू आफ्टर द Prayagra Kumbh, he had come and stayed in the very same premises that you are staying, and beautifully decorated and renovated by अनिल जी. जरा खड़े होइए, लोग जाने आपको. आपने इसका टोटल रेनोवेशन भी किया, जिससे कि what you are going to see and enjoy your stay here. Next. Kal Bhairav. We just had darshan, some of us went and had. So the thing is, he is the main kotwal of Kashi. So the कोतवाली भी काल भैरव में है, कोतवाली थाना. और as administration goes, कोई कलेक्टर, कोई एसएसपी, अभी पुलिस कमिश्नर, कोई जाकर के मुआयना नहीं करता है कोतवाली का. Nobody goes and inspects that कोतवाली थाना. Why? It is run by काल भैरव. इतनी ज़रूरत किसी में नहीं है. और सबसे पहले चार्ज लेते समय, बिफोर यू टेक चार्ज एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर और अ पुलिस ऑफिसर इन काशी, इवन बिफोर यू साइन योर चार्ज पेपर, पहले आप वहाँ जाके मत्था टेकते हैं काल भैरव. सीक परमिशन, ओनली देन यू साइन योर चार्ज रिपोर्ट्स. सो दैट इज़ द होल इम्पॉर्टेंस ऑफ काल भैरव. यू स्टे इन काशी एट हिज मर्सी. ही इज़ द वन हु एक्चुअली looks after the entire city and the well-being of the city. He can be both benevolent as well as very harsh, both ways. And he is timeless, Kal Bhairav. Out of the Ashta Bhairavas, the main Bhairav. Next. Dandapani, Vishwesham Madhavam Dhundim, Dandapanim cha Bhairav. The Dandapani is the actual executor. जो होता है ना, जा करके कोतवाल का जो आदेश का पालन कराता है. सो दैट इज द दंडपाणी. नेक्स्ट. काशी विशालाक्षी. विशालाक्षी, द आइज, द होली ट्रायड, वन ऑफ द नवगौरीज इन काशी. एंड इट इज बिलीव्ड दैट लॉर्ड विश्वनाथ जी ड्यूरिंग द आफ्टरनून्स गोज एंड टेक्स रेस्ट देयर एट विशालाक्षी जी. नेक्स्ट. Kedareshwar, mentioned again, Kedar Ghat, Kedareshwar, Kedar Khand, the Kedar Mahatmya. Actually, there is a Kashi Mahatmya and there is a Kedar Mahatmya. Even within Kashi, you could have said so many things, but you still need a Kedar Mahatmya, which is distinct, separate, and more elaborate on the Kashi Khand. By the way, the Kashi Khand here by the Sanskrit University has got 3 different volumes, and every important temple here mentions in which particular clause or which particular stanza of Kashi Khand that temple is mentioned. They call it Kashi Khandokt hai ki nahi. That is a manyata. So if you go to a temple and you find Kashi Khandokt para so and so, then it means that it is associated with that particular episode of Kashi Khand. So that certifies its एंटिक्विटी. नया मंदिर होगा तो काशी खंड में नहीं होगा, पुराना है तो इसका मतलब काशी खंड में. नेक्स्ट. संकट मोचन. गोस्वामी तुलसीदास had the version of Sankat Mochan that he had darshan there, and that's the place where he wrote Ramcharitmanas, which we talked about in Ayodhya, Avadhi, and how Ramcharitmanas was all about. Next. Durga Devi, temple built by another famous Rani Bhavani of Nator of Bengal. There was actually a competition between 2 queens, both widows, one from Madhya Pradesh, Indore, one from Nator, West Bengal. This queen, Rani Bhavani, she actually sells off all her property, all her belongings in Nator, comes to Kashi, and all she does for the rest of her life is to build temples from that money. So these are people who probably you've never even heard of, but they are actual living people who did this kind of important social welfare. The Durga Mandir was built by her, and if you look at it, the Shaili also is that of the Bengal style in terms of how the shikhar is. Next. Sarnath or Saranganath, Lord of the Deer, where Lord Buddha gave his first sermon. Next. There are two, one installed by Adi Shankaracharya and one which was prior to Lord Adi Shankaracharya. So both the Shivlings are existing there in Sarnath. Next. You name any saint, from right from Vedavyas to Goswami Tulsidas to any of the modern saints, Ramakrishna Paramahans, Mani Babaji, all of them, Swami Vivekanand, all of them have come, they have contributed to Kashi. Kashi has contributed to them. Adi Shankaracharya, all of them have some connect or the other. Interestingly, every sect that you find in Bharatvarsh has got some mutt or some ashram in Kashi. And there is hardly any important district or town in which you do not have a Kashi Vishweshwar temple in them. There are temples in Bangalore also called Kashi Vishweshwar temple. There is a temple interestingly in Banki Kodla, 300 years old, Kashi Vishwanath temple, built by some Amchis who came here to Kashi and they built in Banki Kodla. Some of you would have seen it also, I'm sure. So that connect between Kashi and every religious place of importance all across India continues. People look upon Kashi as a place to authenticate their learning in terms of Sanskrit, their spirituality, darshan, all that gets authenticated from Kashi. अरे काशी में जाके पढ़ाई किया है, काशी में संस्कृत का पढ़ाई किया है, BHU में संस्कृत का पढ़ाई किया है. This is the ultimate goal of any Sanskrit scholar. Even today, that is the litmus test. कहाँ पढ़ाई किए हो? काशी में पढ़ाई किए हो संस्कृत का. In our tradition also, during the marriage, what is done? Kashi Yatra. You stop the groom from studying more. शिक्किलपुर डाल रहा है, आत लग्न करी. So that शिक्किल, शिक्षण, higher education, learning, Sanskrit, all has got relationship with Kashi, for us and for everybody in the country. That's a part of our social culture and ethos. Next. Pindadan in Kashi. There are places, Pishach Mochan, Rin Mochan, Kapal Mochan. I'm not going to delve into each of these, but then each place here, Rin Mochan, Kapal Mochan, Pishach Mochan, have got their own importance in terms of what is the remedy and where you have to perform it and what you have to do. So that the locals will guide you properly for any such remedial measures that you need to take to burn your earlier karma. So that people come and do here. There is not very much of literature that you will find, but I can help you guide with whatever you want to understand where you need to burn your karma, because a lot of people come here just to do that in Kashi. Next. Kashi and Bhavani Shankar. Bhavani Shankaram Vande Shraddha Vishwas Rupino. Origin for us being Kashi. Bhavani Shankar came from Kashi. Where? Khai. Praman Khai. Praman. Again, the darshan. What is the evidence? So, where is it located? The temple of Bhavani Shankar. Next to the Annapurna temple, behind the Annapurna temple is where the Bhavani Shankar temple is located. As per records, Kubernath Shukul, Varanasi Vaibhav, there used to be a Bhavani Shankar Kund within where what is the precincts of the Annapurna temple today. That was closed. And just behind is the Bhavani Shankar temple. But although it is mentioned in the Panchkosi Yatra with great importance, today's Bhavani Shankar temple is only a small replica of what it must have been at its height. So this is probably 400, 500 years back what its Udbhav was and what it exists today, a very small shrine. So this is part of the Kashi Vishwanath ji temple complex at present, the Bhavani Shankar. Next. Bhavani Shankar, Bhavani Gauri Devi. This is the Bhavani Gauri Devi. Some of you, if you happen to visit Annapurna temple, next to that is the Kali temple, and next to the Kali temple is a small idol kept of Bhavani Gauri. Bhavani Gauri, where she is located, just in front of her used to be where the Bhavani Shankar Kund was, which was closed and this deity installed there. Next. This is the depiction of Bhavani Shankar in the Panchakosi Mandir. If people do not have the stamina to do a Panchakosi Yatra for 5 days, you can visit the Panchakosi temple and do 5 parikramas of that temple itself, and that is as good as doing a Panchakosi Yatra. In that, out of the 108 temples that are mentioned, Bhavani Shankar is this is the representative of how Bhavani Shankar looks like. Next. Well, I don't want to delve too much on this temple expansion thing, but 2007 was the first time after Rani Ahilyabai Holkar's period of 1780-85 that the temple expansion actually took place. This book that I have shown, Bhaj Vishwanatham, this view was not possible before April of 2007 because the temple on this side from where the photograph is taken did not exist, and there was a wall which was almost 2-storied, hardly 2.5 feet away from the Garbhagriha, which restricted the view and restricted sunlight and ventilation. In afternoon at 12 o'clock, there was no sunlight inside. So there was no sunlight throughout the day. And the whole place had a stench to it because of the offerings. It never got cleaned up. So this photo for me is the first ever temple expansion effort captured in one photograph. And here are some people who helped. Gulshan was a major proponent. He was the one who was, क्या थे आप, क्या बनाया था आपको? Parvekshak, Nishulk Parvekshak, who oversaw the entire temple expansion for the first time. Anil, who is here, helped us with the architectural designs. And this view was possible after that particular wall was demolished. Inside this is the Tadakeshwar temple and the Tadakeshwar temple Prangan, and after that is the Bhuvaneshwar Mahadev temple. And this expansion brought the 2 queens of India together. On one side, Ahilyabai Holkar, on the other side, Rani Bhavani. Bhuvaneshwar Mahadev temple was built by Rani Bhavani of Nator. So the 2 queens were brought together in this thing. Today, there are 5 shikhars in this complex that you will see tomorrow. 3 built in 1780-85 and 2 built in 2007-2008. And I am very, it is my, I think, divine destiny that I was part of the team that led the whole 2007-8 expansion for the first time. And 2 of the shikhars therefore are built by somebody from amongst you. This was the precursor to the entire expansion that took place along this, right up to the then Chhattadwar, and the entire core of Shri Kashi Vishwanath complex was then opened up, and finally it paved the way for it to go towards the east, that is towards the Ganga, and which is what you see today as the Kashi Vishwanath Dham. So that is how the story is. Next. So this is where you can see Bhuvaneshwar Mahadev on the extreme right. Then you can see the mandapam of Tadkeshwarji, then Tadkeshwarji temple, and then the three shikhars. So when you come from the Ganga side, you will first see Bhuvaneshwar Mahadev, then Tadkeshwarji, then Vishwanathji, and the two other temples there. Next. So, in conclusion, what is Kashi? It is the cosmic light which shines. Kashi is not just the solar light, but the cosmic light. Beyond the solar system also it shines here. And in Kashi it's the light that illuminates everything all around us. The illumination is what is Kashi, and whoever actually knows what this illumination is all about is the one who reaches Kashi. Kashyam Kashate Kashi, Kashi Sarva Prakashika. She illuminates everything all along in the world. Next. So it is, as the anthropologist Jonathan Perry says, it's both the origin point as well as the microcosm of the entire universe. It's all represented here in Kashi. You don't have to go beyond this. You can experience the entire universe here. And it stands within and outside in terms of the spatial relationship. Next. So this is the great place, Avimukteshwara Kshetre, Varanasi-am, never forsaken, ever present, Avimukta Kshetra. Next. So let us be blessed to conclude. This is the place where it will slowly grow on you. If this is your first visit, you will feel like coming for a second visit. If it's your second visit, you will feel like coming for a third visit. It grows on you. And if you think that you know Kashi, Kashi is like an onion. You peel one layer, another layer comes in. You peel the second, another layer comes in. So you don't know कि कितना है अंदर, नहीं पता है. अभी था नहीं पकड़ में आ रहा है कि कहाँ तक जाना है. और जितना भी करेंगे उतना कम है, और जितना भी अंदर घुसेंगे उतना कम है. So you have to actually get marinated into Kashi to understand what is Kashi. Kashyam Kashate Kashi, Kashi Sarva Prakashika. So you will get illuminated when you really understand what this is all about. Thank you very much, and let us say our prayers. Namah Parvati Pate Hara 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 Mahadev. Thank you.
What is the difference between, you spoke about Avimukteshwar and also Vishwanath. Is there a different, are they two different lingas?
They are two different aspects of the same. Avimukteshwara is an aspect where Lord Shiva says, I am ever present here. So if you are wanting to, let's say, pray to the form of Shiva which is ever present, then you say Avimukteshwara. But again, it's the same. Vishwanathji is the Lord of the universe. So there is some part which says that Avimukteshwar Kshetra is, or Avimukteshwar is actually the spiritual guru of Vishwanathji also. There is some text to that, some references to that. But again, it's the same manifestation. Like you have different aspects to which you pray for. One aspect is Avimukta, one aspect is Vishweshwara. That is the only difference.
You said the Ganga takes the northern direction at some point. I would just, out of sheer curiosity, by any chance, is it Chunar?
Chunar, yes, Chunar.
Because I have got a photograph.
Exactly,
where,
it is Chunar.
Anand
is
Swamiji and Paridhyan Ashram Swamiji are there. And another thing I heard, that it's the place of Lord Mahabali.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the Maratha connection.
The Marathas came up to Chunar. They had a camp there, and for a while, if you read काशी का क्या वो किताब मोती चंद, काशी का इतिहास by Moti Chand, you will have the entire connection of Peshwas and Chunar in that.
I post your photographs. Pardon me, it is 60 years old.
Which one?
Of Chunar, where I felt the river changed its direction. So, just for your information.
But it does turn because the Vindhya mountain there is the final obstruction for it to go straight. So if you actually go on the fort, you can see her coming.
Yes, correct.
You can see her coming, and then almost it's like touching the feet.
Yes.
It is like Chunar Charan. It is like from, it has come from there. Charan.
Exactly. Yes.
Chunar is an upper branch. It is actually Charan.
Yes, yes.
From Charan छू करके फिर वो दिशा बदलती है.
आगे जाती है.
आगे जाती है. It's that beautiful. When you stand on top of that fort, you can actually see her flowing that way.
Second question, ma'am. Is our mutt in Kashi or Varanasi? Actually, I didn't know the distinction till you told us.
Our mutt is in Varanasi and Kashi both.
Oh, I see. Both. I see. Thank you, ma'am.
Just a small addition. You all are going to Raja Ghat tomorrow. So Amrit Rao Peshwa, he built a small Annapurna temple also there, just in his own place. So you can have darshan that also, same place.
Where Intact Foundation is, he is Mr. Kapoor from Intact, and they run a foundation next to Raja Ghat. It used to be a place where the Peshwas used to feed the people of Kashi. It was an Anna Kshetra, and there are records which say that almost on a daily basis, close to 8 to 10,000 people used to come and eat food there. It was free of cost. And when Amrit Rao Peshwa came from Pune here, there are close to 10,000 Marathi speaking people in Kashi. He came from Pune here. And that is the place where our mutt has come into being. So that's the connect between the Peshwas and our mutt. I call it as some kind of a Runanubandha of some past thing, that from the Peshwas it has finally come to us, where Anandashram Swamiji stayed, Prajnanashram Swamiji stayed. Now you will go and experience it.
A little about the Bindu Madhav temple.
It was like the Beni Madhav temple in Prayagraj. There are 8 major Vishnu's temples. You have Vishnu Swarup in Tirupati. The biggest Vishnu temple in all of India today is, of course, Tirupati. The richest temple today is Tirupati. In the north, the richest temple till 1669 of the Vaishnava Sampradaya was the Bindu Madhav temple. The biggest statue of Lord Vishnu, more than almost human size, as described by Francois Tavernier, who passed this place when the temple was still in existence. As he comes from the Ganga, from Patna side, and goes towards Chunar, he describes the promontory of Panchaganga Ghat. Panchaganga Ghat even today is the highest ghat amongst all the ghats in Varanasi. And on top of it, he says, was a giant pagoda. On top of that, with a statue of Lord Vishnu, which is bigger than a human being size, filled with rubies and diamonds and all kinds of precious stones. And he attends the Aarti there, and he describes the Aarti. And that was what Bindu Madhav was. Of course, today it's still in existence in a very small. Patwardhan Guru ji dekhte hain abhi usko, very small size, Bindu Madhav. We still go and pray. But that, just as Vigyanvapi was demolished, Bindu Madhav was demolished, and Dharara Masjid came into being with its 4 minarets, which were so tall that people said that you could stand on the minaret and see Agra and Delhi. Kimvadanti, कहने के लिए. So ultimately it could not withstand its own weight, and finally a couple of those minarets fell, and then they had to rebuild that in a smaller shape. Some of the older photographs or sketches, you will find that the minarets are much taller, and then the current minarets are much smaller. Of course, today it's an ASI protected monument, but that's how history is. So if you look at it, the biggest Vishnu temple of Kashi, Adikesha was there, but the biggest was Bindumada. That is why you find Kashi Mutt, Gokarn Patkali Mutt, all the Vaishnava Sampradaya Mutts next to Bindumada. Again, the Sthan Mahatva, no?
Nitin ma'am, I had one question. Thank you for a detailed presentation and insightful details. So, one of the slides I came across where you mentioned about Kashi is always in the Satyuga. So, wanted to also know, the Satyuga and Uttarayan, the significance of that. How is that? And
See,
one more.
Yeah.
One more. I just came. I'll just. One of the slides I also saw that the Gyanvapi and the deities. In that, I think this one word, there's Chaudehi, like deities. Like, are there like 14 deities? And if you can share some more details on that.
Let's take the first one. It's always Satyug in Kashi. Can you tell me why? Because the fire that was burnt in Satyug still continues. So it is the fire of Satyug which is still there. Anavarata. Just as you say, the Deep Prajwalan, you keep your Nandi Deep or Nanda Deep, it is burning continuously like that. You still say that eternal, yes. Same way the Satyuga, whatever was there at the Mahasmashan continues today. If you happen to be at Manikarnika, if on a night which is what was called as Amavasya ki Raat, no moon, and if the lights go, okay, and you see the burning pyres in front of you, you will experience Satya. I have done that, kai baar. So that is what I call as how do you experience that energy of the Satyug there. It used to happen earlier. Lights used to go frequently earlier, not now. So even if you go to night, you won't experience that. So that is a किंवदंती saying that ये हमेशा यहाँ सतयुग ही चलता है, और सतयुग का प्रमाण यही है कि उसमें युग परिवर्तन नहीं होता है, आपका जो भी कर्म है वो यूं ही बना रहता है. So the importance of Manikarnika is with regard to Vishnu, with regard to Shiva. Also, I forgot to mention that there is a Manikarnika temple also there, and the Vinayak associated with the Manikarnika is the Siddhi Vinayak. Siddhi Vinayak, all of us are familiar in Mumbai. So the Siddhi Vinayak temple is at Manikarnika. As you climb the steps, and there is an older Manikarnika Shivaling next to the Siddhi Vinayak temple, which is close to 2 floors below. नीचे आपको जाना पड़ता है 2 फ्लोर, क्योंकि वो जब बनाया गया था तब वो सही था, उसके बाद वो अगल बगल का बसता गया. तो मंदिर का शिवलिंग का लेवल वही है, वो चेंज नहीं हुआ. So to access that you have to actually go underground. Like that there are several temples here where the level of the Shivling was at that particular time whatever was the natural level, and then civilization grew on top of it, and then you find that it is now 2 stories below. That leading temple that you find is, I think, in my view, one of the best carving in terms of temple architecture that you can find in Kashi, of the Nagar Shaili. Beautiful carving from inside and from outside. And if you say that the Leaning Tower of Pisa is tourist attraction, You must go and see this. This is taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And its angle is also more than the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And it's got a shivling inside. During the monsoon, the entire shivling gets covered with the Ganga water. And it's only when the Ganga recedes that you can actually go inside and do puja. But we don't charge money for going there. Unlike the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you can go there and you can experience. It's really a architectural wonder. It sunk on its own. A natural sinking that took place, possibly because of the shift in the sand below of the earth. And that's how it has, over a period of centuries, it has just tilted. It's not a man-made tilt in that sense.
Ma'am, the second question was related to the Gyanvapi and the deities, if you could give more details on that.
See, I can give you an entire lecture on Gyanvapi and its details, depending upon which era you are looking at. I don't want to ruffle feathers, but that's why I'll keep it at that. A lot of changes have happened, and therefore I won't delve beyond that in a public forum. I can tell you one, two.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Panchakosi Yatra. So as I mentioned, the sankalp for the Panchakosi Yatra will be taken at the Gyanvapi. But the first deity that you are going to pray is the Manikarnika, at Manikarnika Ghat. And as we all do circumambulation clockwise, that's where it starts. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that it goes. It comes to a place called Kandava. Kandava or Kardameshwar temple. There's a pond there and a beautiful old temple with a beautiful Nagar Shaili architecture. That is also the origin of the Assi river. If you see this blue, some of you may be able to see this blue. This is the Assi river or the Assi Nala as per records. Now, after Kandava you come and there are other smaller temples, and that is Bhimchandi, Devil. Then from there you come to this place called Rameshwaram here. That is the Rameshwaram where you have the Lord Rama's Shivaling that he is done on the banks of the Varuna. It's right there on the banks of the Varuna. Beautiful old temple, destroyed, and then the Sindhyas rebuilt it. And they still maintained that. The Sindhyas maintained this temple even till date. And they've got lots of deities of both Lord Ram, Lakshman, Sita and Shiva. Then you cross the Varuna and you come this place called Shivpur. We would have passed it when we came from Jaunpur, but you wouldn't have seen it because we were on an elevated level. The Shivpur would have been to the right of where we came from. That is where you have the Pancha Pandav. They have established their Shivling, Yudhishthir, Nakul, Sahadev, Bhim, Arjun. They have established the Shivpur. Is there a place for another Padav? What I'm mentioning, these are the Padavs where you actually walk, you do the interim pujas, and then you stay there in the night. And typically you carry your own provisions. You don't eat from any place. You take your own provisions, carry it, you cook it yourself, you eat it, you sleep with whatever you are carrying. It's like a trek. It's a religious pilgrimage trek. There are dharmshalas where you stay, and then you cook your own food, and then you again next day you start walking. And that each of those temples has its own deities which you cover. And then after that you come to this place called Kapil Dhara, Kapil Muni Rishi Ashram. Beautiful Ganesh Vinayak there, in a very beautiful dancing pose. I like that Ganapati there of Kapil Dhara. I consider it as a marvel in terms of the pose that Ganesha has there. And from there you then come and you cross the Varuna and come back to Manikarnika. So these are the 5 Padavs. And then after you go back, you finish your Sankalp at Gyanvapi. And then if your Kashi Yatra is also over, then you go to a place next to the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir called Sakshi Vinayak. साक्षी विनायक में जाके आप साक्ष्य देते हैं कि मैं आया था, मैंने संकल्प लिया था, मैंने ये किया, इसलिए जो मेरा फल है काशी का उसका कृपया मुझे दें. दैट इज साक्षी विनायक. ही इज द विटनेस टू योर pilgrimage. That is a later addition. It is a later addition. When they did it in BHU, it has got no such religious significance. It was just that it signified the Kashi Vishwanath. And it was a much bigger area. They could therefore build it on a much more grander scale. But not much of religious significance that way. So if for those who are staying in BHU and who cannot come this side of town and on a daily basis, so they go and pray there as a representative of Vishwanath ji. Tagan Swarup. Well, each of these Jyotirlingas, I don't have that slide where they are located, but there is each of these Dwadash Jyotirling has got a specific temple here within Kashi. So, if you are unable to do your Dwadash Jyotirling Yatra within Bharatvarsh, you can come to Kashi within probably a day's time. You can cover all the 12. So, it's equivalent to doing a 12 Jyotirling Yatra.
Can you repeat the last line? Kashyam Kashate.
Kashyam Kashate Kashi, Kashi Sarva Prakashita. See, I as a hardcore Kashivasi, I don't want UNESCO tag. Why? They are desolate places. Go to any of these UNESCO monuments. They are desolate places. We are living creatures. All of us are. Our livelihoods are there. We go there and pray every day. There are so many people there. That's a different model of preservation. For us, we are intertwined with this. So, UNESCO वालों से मैं दूर से ही हाथ जोड़ता था कि भैया मुझे आपका टैग नहीं चाहिए. Much as I have dug up into it, see, Parignana Ashram. So it would have been an ashram, appellate, tradition here. I haven't been able to find out exactly which lineage, which mutt he came from here. I'd done a lot of research, asked a lot of people around here. लेकिन वो अभी मिला नहीं है. समय नहीं आया हो सकता है या वो कनेक्ट नहीं बन पाया. But this is a question which I grappled with for quite a few years when I was here. भवानी शंकर को तो खोज लिए, लेकिन उनका lineage कहाँ था ये नहीं पता चल पाया.
Thank you so much, Nitin ma'am. We are deeply indebted to you for this fantastic two-portion presentation, one on Ayodhya and Kashi. But Kashi was simply wonderful. You seem to हर रोम में आपके काशी है. you didn't need the presentation. You didn't need to look at the presentation. You spoke so well. Thank you so much. We are deeply indebted to you. Thank you.